October 5th, 2017, this book right here, Stephen Hawking, A Briefer History of Time. Now, I know that it's very popular to talk about things like black holes and Big Bang, and you gotta wonder, why is all that popular? And, it makes sense if you look at the history of things. The foreword starts off, the title of this book differs by only 2 letters from that of a book first published in 1988. A Brief History of Time was on the London Sunday Times bestseller list for 237 weeks and has sold about 1 copy for every 750 men, women, and children on Earth. It was a remarkable success for a book that addressed some of the most difficult issues in modern physics at the time. But to actually accept that talk about where the universe came from is a difficult concept is being disingenuous. It doesn't have any value to say, how does everything in all of existence, all that is seen and unseen, come into existence and where is it going? It doesn't have any actual value because it's not an answerable question yet. We still don't know how far the universe stretches. We still don't know how many galaxies are out there, how many planets are out there. And this is an overview. This is written in 2005, mind you. An overview of a book that was written in 1988, which was a full 4 years before the first exoplanet was confirmed, as they accept exoplanets to be. All my listeners already know that exoplanets are evolved stars, so to see a star is to confirm an exoplanet. Of course, that's well beyond people who have accepted the propaganda and the popularization of things that nobody really understands. Chapter 1, Thinking About the Universe, this part right here. We live in a strange and wonderful universe. Its age, size, violence, and beauty require extraordinary imagination to appreciate. A couple things wrong with this whole spiel. Thinking about the universe, like you can imagine the whole universe. I highly doubt that's possible. I think it should be rephrased, thinking about nature. That's much more appropriate, because to say the universe is like, oh, well, I can comprehend the universe. I don't think that's in the human skill set. We were just banging out stone tablets and using cuneiform maybe a couple thousand years ago. How is it that the same mind that was doing that is one that can understand all of existence? I don't think the two are the same whatsoever. And then he says, we live in a strange and wonderful universe. I think that's kind of like preparing people in their mind to say, well, it's a strange universe. You have to accept that it's strange. And then what he does and what he can do is then go off on his branching ideas about this and that and whatever. And then your common sense will tell you, oh, well, this is strange. But no, it's kind of warming you up to it. It's acceptable for it to be strange. And I don't believe that's true at all. I think nature is understandable. It's not strange. So to say that the universe or nature is strange is that's a goal. He has a goal in mind to sell the book, to wow you with a lot of ideas that I just don't think that are actually valid. And then he says, and beauty require extraordinary imagination to appreciate. That can also be rewarded for what he really means with that. Extraordinary imagination to appreciate. Since when is imagination not extraordinary? He's not actually talking about imagination with this statement. He's actually saying its age, size, violence, and beauty require extraordinary intelligence to appreciate. Again, he's conflating the idea of imagination with intelligence. But somehow he tries to word it to where, well, you have to have an imagination, but I don't think extraordinary imagination really fits the bill here. And then obviously it continues going down on that, and then with the next paragraph you see where he was going. Most people nowadays would find the picture of our universe as the infinite tower of turtles rather ridiculous. So he says, the infinite tower of turtles are ridiculous. Everybody knows that, right? But why should we think we know better? And then he goes off on the ultimate statement for indoctrination. He says, forget for a minute what you know or think you know about space. Throw all that out. Then gaze upward at the night sky. What would you make of all those points of light? Are they tiny fires? It can be hard to imagine what they really are, for what they really are is far beyond our ordinary experience. Again, he tries to wow you with a bunch of, oh, it's far beyond your ordinary experience. It requires extraordinary intelligence. No, it doesn't. The most ancient star humans have had contact with, we landed on in the 1970s. We were walking on it. The second most ancient star is right below your feet. It's not extraordinary. It's real time. It's right in front of us. We're made of the most extraordinary thing. It doesn't require you to move your mind into the phantasms that he's proposing here. And he's really going off onto his abstraction phantasms when he says this. If you are a regular stargazer, you have probably seen an elusive light hovering above or near the horizon at twilight. It is a planet, Mercury, but it is nothing like our own planet. And then he goes off. A day on Mercury lasts for 2/3 of the planet's year. Its surface reaches temperatures of over 400 degrees Celsius when the sun is out, then falls to almost negative 200 degrees Celsius in the dead of night. Yet as different as Mercury is from our own planet, it is not nearly as hard to imagine as its typical star, which is a huge furnace that burns billions of pounds of matter each second and reaches temperatures of tens of millions of degrees at its core. So then he goes off on that tangent again of wow you with stuff and take actual fantastic stuff and just throw it under the rug. This isn't really all that special. It's just a big rock. When he says things like, yet as different as Mercury is from our own planet, it is nearly not as hard to imagine as a typical star. Well, that's his attitude, and it's a false worldview. Mercury is a dead star, and yes, it is hard to imagine, because he couldn't even have imagined it. People that are watching this video that know stellar metamorphosis can now imagine it, because they have a theory that can explain what that damn thing is. It's not just a big rock. As well, he says here, it is a planet, Mercury, but it is nothing like our own planet. Nothing like our own planet. That's another disingenuous statement. It is a whole hell of a lot like our own planet. The iron-nickel core is about the same size as our own planet. As well, it followed the same line of evolution as the Earth, only it's vastly older than the Earth and has been pockmarked with asteroids and impacts, and has been orbiting other stars in its past for billions and billions and billions of years, much longer than the predicted age that the people like this say the universe is, 13.7 billion. Mercury is in excess of 65 billion plus years old. Hell, it even looks ancient. It looks old. It looks dead. It doesn't have a magnetic field. How did that thing get there? But to brush it under the rug to say it's not as hard to imagine as a typical star, that's misdirection. That's saying, well, this isn't hard to imagine, but this is. We should study this, and we should use all the big equations for this and big numbers for this and make it so fantastic. But that's that's just misdirection at its finest. And to close, it says here the nearest star other than our sun is called Proxima Centauri, also known as Alpha Centauri, Charlie, C, which is about 4 light years away. No, it's not, Mr. Hawking. The closest star to the Earth, or to humanity, is the Earth. We're standing on it. Though it doesn't look like a star. It's not hot like the worldview says a star should be. It's because it's a very old star. It's an ancient star. It's almost completely solidified its core, and the magma and the rest of the heat is still escaping through the surface, and is slowly collapsing and contracting on itself, causing earthquakes. And over time, the crust is going to thicken, the oceans are going to evaporate, all life is going to die on it, and it's going to resemble Venus with a giant CO2 atmosphere, and then that atmosphere is going to start dissipating away, and it will be no more, and it'll be a dead, cold, rocky, differentiated body, just like Mercury. But you can't tell Mr. Hawking that. He's a man that sold a book, one for every 750 people on the planet. So we know who's actually going to be following those ideas. It's people who wish to be wowed. People who are completely okay with thinking that these scientists actually know what they're doing. Me, on the other hand, I know better. They don't know what they're doing. Alright, y'all. Take it easy.